In a world before AI and machine learning and all that stuff, there was a different buzzword used every f***ing day. NFTs. NFTs are a unique digital token that proves... You know what, I was gonna pretend that I know this off the top. I'm just gonna read this bit off my laptop. It's a unique digital token stored on a blockchain representing your ownership or proof of authenticity of a specific item. In the simplest of terms, it's like a digital receipt. I have a confession to make. At the very start of NFT mania, before I really knew that much about it, just off of hearing general things about it, I did find the concept at least a little bit interesting. Specifically the part of it all that was we're rediscovering the idea of ownership over art in the digital age. As someone who filmmakes sometimes, as someone who draws sometimes, that did seem interesting to me on some level. Until I realized that a lot of these projects aren't really about, a new kind of ownership in the digital age, but rather a new type of Ponzi scheme in just now. Ownership over a piece of art that isn't physical is a weird thing. But even weirder than that, even more metaphysical in a way, even harder to put on a thing. An NFT movie or NFT cinema. Whatever I called this video. Describing an NFT movie is a weird thing, but I promise, for a point in history, it was an attempted thing. The reason it's hard to describe is because I think for the most part, the people who made them didn't really manage to figure out why NFTs should be a part of this process. For this video, we've decided to define it as a movie or a series that includes NFTs or was funded and distributed via NFTs. I guess mainly the second part of this description. Often the way the distribution work is that you would buy an NFT token in a sort of bundle. So you buy the token, but that grants you access to things like watching the film, watching BTS content, a digital poster, or as I like to call it, a picture, which is I guess the equivalent of being convinced into buying a stock that's definitely gonna lose you money because you're also gonna get a Blu-ray of a movie that you're never gonna watch again. Yes, Anthony Hopkins was in an NFT movie. I will talk about it later in this video. It's an NFT movie, but the whole thing is like a Zoom call or so. You'll see what it is. Most of these projects came out in the years 2021 and 2022 at the height of the NFT popularity bubble. The three projects we're gonna talk about were all panned by audiences and critics alike. With the death of NFTs, also came the fact that nobody realizes that these movies exist. With the death of NFTs, the death of NFT cinemas was quick to come. These projects were destined to be forgotten through the sands of time. But here on the Pintly channel, I have no shame. I put on my gloves hand by hand and got straight into grave digging. I dug out these movies piece by piece. 480p re-upload to YouTube by 480p re-upload to YouTube. So let's talk about these projects and see, will I find treasure in this video or just a bunch of dirty old bones? So, what was promised? What did people think that this new frontier can hold? Some filmmakers are pretty excited about this concept. 2021, talking about NFT cinema, Judy Lindsay, a producer and photographer, said, "This is a revolution. I think we're in a time that will be looked back on as probably the..." I think we're in a period of time that will be looked back on as probably greater than the Renaissance. Judy also famously said back in 2007, "Hey, I think this stock market thing's gonna hold up for a while now." I saw articles like this. What else do we have here? NFTs in the movie and TV, the future of content creation and monetization with Web3 technology. How do NFTs revolutionize Hollywood? And we start seeing some projects. In March of 21, a 2015 documentary about the making of a 1985 documentary had 10 NFT bundles made of it. Awesome. In September 2021, Wong Kar-wai created an NFT out of never-seen-before footage from the first day of production from his 2000 film In the Mood for Love. It was a minute and a half long, It was sold at auction for around $550,000. Stoner Cats was an animated series that at the time you could only watch it by purchasing a Stoner Cat NFT. It stars Mila Kunis from Family Guy, from Meg Family Guy fame. The whole thing is now on YouTube and it seems like people like it. Who knows, maybe it would have been pretty fun if I had watched that one, but the movie, the first thing I decided to lock on was a film called... So here is some pre-movie info given to us by Maya the researcher. A babysitter tells a little girl several terrifying stories about Killroy, a vicious killer behind the famous graffiti. I'm gonna go back and talk about this description later on, because I think it's kind of bullshit. The premise of this movie is like way worse and way more incoherent. This is like described as a thing you can understand. Okay. The only way to watch this film after it was made was to purchase an NFT of it, which makes it an NFT movie. The movie was directed by Kevin Smith, the famous Kevin Smith from Jay and Silent Bob fame. He did Clerks. He did another Clerks. Oh, he's done so many Clerks. He wrote like Daredevil, like some comic books for Daredevil for a little while. I know a lot of you probably know who Kevin Smith is, but this is important context because the thing that I saw, no offense, I really don't want to be too mean, but the thing that I saw really didn't feel like it was made by someone with like that level of experience. There is a reason for that, which I'm glad I got because I was very confused. I was very, very confused. It was released as 5,555 NFTs, one for every day of the month, touted as the first ever NFT full-length feature film as fully minted. Wait, no, I'm gonna start this again. It's touted as the first ever NFT full-length feature film minted as a truly decentralized NFT on Secret Network. Wow, what a title. Let's talk about the actual movie and then we'll talk about all the NFT-ness of it. So this movie stars Harley Quinn Smith, Kevin Smith's real daughter's actual real name. Just a crazy name. You know, giving people names, it's a risk-taking game. You know, the people who called their kids Wendy after like Peter Pan came out, they were taking a risk. Sometimes it works out better than other times. So she's like this piece of shit babysitter. She's this piece of shit babysitter. Like the little girl's mom is like, hey, don't show her TV. Like that's bad for her. But she's Harley Quinn from Arkham Asylum. She's crazy. So she puts on like a news report about a kid who probably died. This babysitter shows up at the house after being dropped off by her boyfriend. As she gets dropped off, Kevin Smith wrote a scene where his daughter tells her douchebag boyfriend like, hey, if you ever cheat on me, I will kill you. Remember that line, I guess.
I mean it.
So after showing this child a news report about a kid who's probably dead, the kid is like, hey, what's going on? Is that kid fine? And Harley Quinn Smith is like, no, he got murdered by a monster.
The kid didn't run away. The monster got him.
It's like, no, it's like worse than what you thought. It's a creature beyond your current perception of reality. It's worse than your current perception of reality. Don't worry about it. So she's like, okay, let me tell you the story of Killroy. And you know what? I want you guys to see if you can figure out the story of Killroy. So she starts off by saying, and this is based on like a real history thing. Soldiers in World War II would draw this little guy with a little big nose peeking over a thing, and there they would write Killroy was here, which is the name of this movie as well. The campaign for this movie has been insane. It's been spanning over generations. So then the kid's like, oh, so Killroy, like the boogeyman Killroy, was in World War II? And she's like, no, he wasn't in World War II. He was in Vietnam.
Vietnam?
So then she goes on to give the story of a guy called Roy who's like a horrible person and he was in Vietnam. So those are different people. Those are different backstories across different generations for one guy. And like she's, what? It's not being told as if like, oh, there are many folk stories. It's like, yes, this is part of the lore and this is part of the lore. These aren't contradicting factors. Don't think about it too much. Then she's like, okay, now I'm gonna tell you all the people, all the stories where Killroy murders someone, and it's gonna be an anthology movie now. So with story number 1, we have, you've seen this sort of kind of story before. It's a girl and she's sick, but she's only really sick because the medicine that her mom gives her is the thing that's making her sick. The mom tells the daughter, hey, we're gonna go to a church fundraiser to buy you a brand spanking new heart. So like, that's what she's doing. She wants the money. She wants to get the money from the heart. The daughter's like, oh, I don't know about going to like a place with that many people like church. I'm worried of getting sick. I have a weak immune system.
So how's taking me to a church gonna keep me from getting an infection?
It's a church. Ain't no germs in any part of God's house.
That's when I was like, yep, Killroy's gonna kill that mom, I think. So the entire movie is really just an hour long, a very long hour. So each story here moves very fast. The daughter already finds out she's getting poisoned before they even go to church. 2 seconds after the story starts, she's like, yeah, probably getting poisoned. There's a really funny scene where she's alone in the house. So to make it so we, the audience, get the information that she's getting poisoned, she like reads like an entire like Google results page.
Monkshood, also known as wolfsbane, is a flowering plant that produces aconite, a nearly undetectable poison.
So then we go to the church scene, and that's when I realized what sort of movie I'm watching. We go to church, and all of the adults there do this cartoonish thing that I haven't seen before. All of them go to the mom, who, from their perception, she's the mom of a dying child. And they just go to the mom and they're like, oh, it must be so hard for you. I don't give a about your daughter. This must be so hard for you that you're going through this.
How's my favorite patient's mama doing, huh? How you holding up under the strain, Cordelia?
How's my favorite patient's mama doing? I don't give a about this stupid dying kid. And there's more and more and more of these scenes of people like stacking up their sins. That reminded me of a very different kind of filmmaker. I'll say who it is in a bit. The girl does a speech. She goes on stage and she does a speech. She's like, all of you people here in this town, you were only feeling bad about the person that was around the person that was gonna die. But me, you treated me like nothing. And I was like, hold up a second. Hold up just a second. People being cartoonishly like mean about a very specific bad thing. And then the person who's being wronged does a big speech about why they've been wrong and the message of this story. And then, spoiler alert, the bad people, either apologize or get their comeuppance. I was like, this is just a Doorman video. It's fully like a Doorman video. It feels like one. The acting's pretty decent, but like there's decent actors doing Doorman stuff. They just gotta deal with like a not amazing script. They gotta say those words.
After all, you smell and look like a homeless person.
So during the speech, she like mentions Killroy. She mentions him once.
Killroy.
Twice.
Killroy.
And then she's like, all of you people helped my mom do this, and that's why I'm dying right now, because of this stuff that my mom died. And the crowd's like, it cuts to the crowd and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I thought we were like donating like for your heart. I thought that's what we were doing. And then she says Killroy a third time.
Killroy!
Which, in horror movie fashion, summons the guy to do some killing. She like needs to sacrifice herself. She dies. And then this ugly man. Killroy looks like a blobfish. Can we have a comparison? Here's Killroy. Here's blobfish. Looks like a blobfish. Pretty cool design, honestly. And yeah, everyone dies. Even the people who were like, they had bad etiquette, but they thought they're donating for a heart transplant. Then we move on to story number 2, which is somehow more boring. Listen, I have nowhere near the film experience that Kevin Smith has, so I don't want to be a dick. Making things is really hard, and making, good things on a tight budget is really hard. There are so many moving parts that need to be in place and all that. So none of this is coming from like a point of like, I don't want to come to this at a point of superiority. I am genuinely confused though, how would a person who has written so many things before, work on this? You know? There's like really not a lot going on in most of these stories, and then someone dies at the very end. So it's not really like a horror movie in the sense that you're like scared for the whole thing. It's just like a bunch of like not that scary stuff, and then someone just dies instantly. The second story is about a teacher and 2 kids. So then I was like, maybe the uniting thing is that these stories are about adults that are like not that great with kids. This teacher is like overseeing these kids as they're staying in school after hours, and she's not like mean to them, but she is definitely like irresponsible. She like made a cum joke.
If you say his name 3 times, he comes.
Sounds like a guy I knew in college.
And she has left these kids unattended like multiple times, which you really shouldn't do. They're young kids. The teacher keeps saying Killroy all the time. She keeps like being like, oh yeah, you're scared of Killroy? Oh yeah, well,
Killroy. Maybe singing happy songs will keep Killroy away.
Then she loses the kid again. At that point, she runs into the janitor, who kind of looks like a young Kevin Smith. All right, well, watch it. It says in the script that I gotta react to this next scene. I wrote that for myself. I want you guys to watch this with me and let me know what you think is going on here. My task for you for this video. Let me know what's going on. I don't know.
You gotta see the stuff I have to scrape off the walls in the little boys and little girls' room.
Chet, that is sexist.
I don't find anything sexy about little kids, ma'am.
Of course you don't.
All right, how about this? You go.
What? What the f***? Let's break this down, okay? It's like, oh, these kids are rascals. You gotta see the stuff I gotta scrape off the toilet walls of the girls and boys' rooms. He mentioned both, and then she's like, don't be sexist. What was that referring to? And then he's like, I'm just saying what the scene was because I'm in disbelief. Then he says, I don't find anything about kids sexy. And then she's like, I know you don't. What? Who talks like that? I don't even have a joke. I am just... What? Look at me, I'm in the corner of this screen, I'm so confused. Anyways, she finds the kids, they disappear again, and then she gets killed. And now we're off to story number 3. Now, this video, I want to keep it lighthearted. It's supposed to be a fun little video, so I'm just not gonna talk about the third story too much. It's like really dark. It's about like, the story involves a priest and children, and they are saved by Killroy. That's all I will say. So at this point, I was like, okay, 3 stories in, Killroy is a defender of children. Perhaps. At this point, you're like, something's gonna happen with the babysitter and the fact that she's an asshole to the kid. You can kind of make that assumption. You have the first story, you have the teacher that is kind of irresponsible. I don't think she's a good teacher, but it's not, like, she's not evil, I guess. But sure, leaving kids unattended, that's pretty bad. Killroy had to get her. Thought I had a good idea of what this movie is. And then we reach story number 4. This one is called Gator Chaser, I think. It starts off by this guy being like filming himself on his iPhone, and he's like, hey, how's it going, guys? Today I'm gonna be catching myself a gator. I'm gonna go out tonight, I'm gonna catch myself a gator, god damn it.
This is what the Gator Chaser does. I'm gonna flush out the gator, get him out of South Florida so that you and your children can sleep well at night.
I, in my mind, thought that he was talking about a real alligator. He just looks like the guy who would like catch an alligator. I was like, this story's in Florida or something. He's gotta catch an alligator. In my defense, I was pretty zoned out at this point. Then this guy gets into a car with a man, and I was like, that's not an alligator. That's a guy, an alligator. But apparently this like dude that looks like Theo Vaughn, what he does is expose gay men for being gay. Gators. That's the story. So I was like, okay, this is the bad guy. He's gonna get killed now. He's horrible. How is that connected to the other stories? I don't know. I kind of felt like they figured out that the rest of the movie is too short because it's exactly 1 hour long. And then they kind of stitched this story into it, maybe like a pre-existing thing that they had. Because there wasn't the tie-in thing between all the other anthology stories. there was like, we cut back to the babysitter, but this one just played straight after the last one. So the gator chaser at some point gets abducted by the wife of a man who took his own life because of these horrible live streams that this guy does. And she does like a big speech and it gets a little like convoluted. So for context, this is a woman whose husband was, as part of these live streams, exposed for meeting up with this guy to hook up. That's the story, and you know, horrible stuff. But obviously that carries a few insinuations, like did he cheat on her, something like that. That's important for the speech that we're gonna see.
The man never did a bad thing in his life. He was a good husband, a wonderful father. But he had urges.
Because I was like, okay, she's saying wonderful father and husband. Because this is written like a Darman movie, so the person who has been victimized needs to be this perfect human being. So she's like, he had urges.
So I told him to try it. He was just curious.
Yeah, they had an open relationship. And I'm like, you know, this was clearly written in a way to make the character that you know, the victim of the perpetrator seem like a perfect person. But it's like, why? Isn't it more interesting to have a character who's been cheated on, but obviously this horrible thing happened to her husband, and she has like these, like, you know, like, isn't that a more interesting story? Why make it cleaner in that way? I don't know. It's a personal thing, but it's like, again, it feels simplified, like it's meant for like a kid's show or something. Anyways, he gets killed by a gator and she gets killed by Kilroy. So, what's the moral of that? Let's try and figure it out. So we're back to the babysitter stuff. So the babysitter's like looking at her phone and like, find my friends, and she's like, oh yeah, it seems like my boyfriend's cheated on me and now he's headed here to pick me up. That's the information that I think she's gathering. And it is at this point that we find out why exactly has this girl been traumatizing the child. The babysitter's boyfriend arrives to the house, and then this scene happens. So she convinced the kid that Kilroy's gonna come over. She gave the kid a knife and was like, murder this person. That's Kilroy. Get him. Go get him. That's that story. But then not a moment after, this happens. Kilroy cuts her in the face. She gets actually killed by He does exist. There you go, atheists. Kilroy exists. And that's the movie. It ends. So that's nice. It wasn't very good. Apparently Kevin Smith has made a good movie recently, at least like according to like critics and audiences. It's called 430, I think. People like it, apparently. So this was like a bump in the road, I guess, at some level. When it comes to the actual movie itself though, one last thing I wanted to bring up. When you go to the official Kilroy Was Here trailer on Kevin Smith's official YouTube channel, and you look at the thumbnail, not the trailer itself, the thumbnail for the trailer, you see that they killed the babysitter. You see the final kill in a horror movie. It's spoiled in the thumbnail. So no one gave a about this movie. So what happened with this thing? Where does the NFT of it all come into play? What does each NFT contain? A Kilroy Was Here profile picture. So just a bunch of images. Just that you can download, and that you can download off of this video as well. You could just take a screenshot. Access to the Kilroy Was Here full-length feature film, the movie script signed by Kevin Smith as a picture, one of 45 different comic videos, creative rights to each profile picture, so just to the profile picture, including the ability to monetize it, participation and opportunity within the Kilroy Was Here creative community. Whatever that means. Smith says that if you buy an NFT, you can use a specific version of Kilroy however you want. Your Kilroy can do whatever you want, make your own movies, turn it into a cartoon, license them for lunchboxes, which, you know, I guess it's a cool design. It's based off of that, you know, that graffiti thing, but they made him into a blobfish, and that's kind of cool, I guess. But why is it an NFT? Why did it have to exist in this weird way that's not accessible to a lot of people? In an interview Kevin Smith did with Entertainment Weekly, where he talks about the production of this movie, he says how this was initially filmed with the kids at the Ringling College of Art and Design in 2017. Meaning, I guess that this seemed to just be like a film assignment that they were doing, rather than something that was supposed to be sold to people for a very, very high price. When he decided to turn this into a movie, Kevin Smith said that he originally reached out to Shudder, the horror streaming service, for distribution. He just wanted to just let go of it. He told them that they could initially have it for 30 grand. That was it. But Shudder was like, this is terrible. This isn't good enough for Shudder. That's Kevin Smith saying this. Following the rejection, his producer introduced him to a company, Legenda-O, that was interested in buying a movie to release as NFTs. They wanted to showcase their blockchain technology. But this other article states that Smith had already been working on selling Kilroy's here as one NFT before the company reached out. That's like a thing he already wanted to do. He said in this interview that he wanted to break new grounds. He said that if he didn't do it, meaning selling through NFTs, someone else would, and maybe later he'd regret it if he didn't. Generally in the interview and hearing him talk about it, it seems like a lot of the reasoning for him deciding to go through this NFT route was just coming out of feeling like he's getting older and like worried of being out of touch, which is kind of fascinating because due to that fear, due to that insecurity, he did a thing that I think is, really out of touch. No one can watch this. He stated that he didn't really have an issue with like having a movie that will only have a smaller audience by selling through NFTs because he'd prefer a smaller, more dedicated audience than having to try and market to those who weren't planning to see it in the first place. But it's like, it doesn't seem like people have enjoyed this movie a lot. But yeah, new one's getting really good reviews. So that's good. So the second thing we're going to talk about is not a movie, but a show called The Red Ape Family. Do you remember these bored ape NFTs that were everywhere for a little while, acting all bored like they're too good for you, so you go ahead and you buy one for $250,000 because you've basically been negged by a drawing of a monkey? Do you remember how you were always talking my ear off about how they should turn these apes into an animated show? And I was like, ooh, I don't know, it doesn't really sound like that good of an idea. And then you did another line of coke and you were like, no, I swear to God, this is gonna decentralize the market. It's gonna be good. It's gonna decentralize the market. So while I am sad about your overdose caused death, your wish did come true. So this is what it says on their website. The Red Ape Family is a new comedy show and the first animated series built around starring NFTs. Amazing. I think those cat things might have been first. I think the stoner cats might have been first. So the information that we have is that this series was founded by a person called Hashim Zaini, co-founded. Who says co-founded about a series? I guess because it's a startup as well as a TV show. It was directed by that guy as well. He had like a couple of like little projects under his belt, but nothing in the scale, the grand scale of the Red Ape Family NFT animated series. 2 Chainz was apparently an executive producer on this thing. Let's read his tweet. Me and my Red Ape fam about to deliver with Tony as exec producer. Tony's the executive producer of the show. This show gonna f y'all up. And it really did. It really did f me up. It did make me feel sick to my f***ing core. It f***ed me up in the same capacity that food poisoning f***s me up. You could apparently also send your NFT to a casting call, and if they picked your one, they would pay you to license your NFT ape. It seems like similarly to the apes that these guys were inspired by, the founders of this show could not help themselves but to continuously throw shit at the wall. Could this part be an NFT? What about this? Can we be the first people to incorporate an NFT baby picture of the creators of this in the credits? Could the credits be an NFT? All right, let's talk about the show itself. Here's a title card. So before starting this, I thought I should probably like watch all 3 episodes of this thing that are on YouTube to kind of get like a good feeling of what this is. I started off with episode 1, and as I kept going, I silently made the decision to myself that maybe I'm just gonna talk about the first 2 episodes. This is quite a lot. And as I finished it, I was like, I don't think my body can handle any more of this. I'm just talking about the first episode here. This is just like an NFT person was like, I should make my own Rick and Morty. Why does Adult Swim only get to have a Rick and Morty? I want to have my Rick and Morty. But it has none of the like experienced writers that Rick and Morty has. Whatever you think of the show, these are people with a past in writing or like a plot that I can follow through with in a coherent way. Fun fact, the episode, the first one is like 8 minutes long, and like the credits are 2 minutes long, and they go by. Can we have this go on the screen? They go by so slowly. So slowly. At the very end of the credits, Graham, if you can show this on screen, they slow down even more. Because after 8 minutes, you can put multiple ads on your video. I was like, oh, it's kind of funny. I mean, I get it. If you were to do like an animated show, you'd like want it to at least like make more than $1. I guess. Still just a funny visual. So yeah, I just wrote like a bunch of notes here. I'm just gonna read some of them. Just some things that like kind of popped up in front of my face as I was watching this. The first episode starts off with this soundbite.
Are these Yetis stupid or what? Hey Chucky, man's not hot, Chucky.
That's their thing. That's the music they play. Imagine if they played that instead of like, you know, the Disney theme when you see like the castle and stuff before the movie. Imagine if they played this thing in front of every movie. The NFTs are flying a spaceship, which is called the Musk One. And I wrote a joke about this. I hope you guys are ready to hear my joke. Oh, it's not called the Musk One like after the billionaire, but after the scent in the writer's room of the Red Ape family. That's my joke. I'm sorry, it's a bit mean. I don't know if they smell bad. At 3:34, I wrote, this shot is Reddit. Grape, can you put the shot on the screen that I'm talking about? I wonder what I meant. Is it Reddit? Guys, let me know in the comments. Is it Reddit? Was I correct in what I wrote? 4:28, I wrote, everything is disgusting. Okay, so I wrote, apparently what happened is that the Red Ape guy broke into an NFT museum and stole a USB stick with an NFT. I understand all of that because, oh yeah, like I was like, what the f is going on? And then there's just like an NFT monkey woman and she's just like rattling off all this information, just like, oh, yes, feed me with exposition. I got an exposition kink. I wrote that this is paced horribly, but does that even matter in a show like this? Okay, I mean, I didn't really say what the show is, but they're just a bunch of like apes and they're NFT apes and it's all disgusting and horrible. And it really, like, the reason I haven't gone over the plot is because you don't feel the existence of it too much. They introduce so many things all the time. It's like, here's the Glipglaw planet, and here is this characters, and here's McGee, who looks disgusting and he has ooze coming out of his asshole. And at 6 minutes long, the episode pretty much just abruptly ends. In the last 10 seconds of this show, they introduce another set of characters, like these two apes, and then they see the protagonists, and then the episode just ends. Just ends. Out of nowhere. All of these things happen in 6 minutes. So I guess that should give you a pretty good idea of how badly paced this is. In the credits, the slow ones, we see that the voice actors consist of people called Slim, Fuego, and Major Williams. At 7:31, we see a list of executive producers. The researcher said about this, that this might be the biggest list of executive producers ever created. A new Mission Impossible movie had 5 executive producers. I looked it up. This is 5, and that's how many producers the Ape show got. I think it's just a list of people who bought the token. I think that's all that is. This was the worst animated episode I've ever seen in my life. And, you know, I hope the people who've made this, I'm trying to be positive. I hope the people who made this see this as a chance to grow creatively. You are not the founder of the show, you are a creator of a show. Look at what you do in a creative way, and maybe your next project will be significantly better than this. This show is an earnest attempt. They're not being ironic. That's kind of the crazy thing here. They are like, this is funny, and we are gonna like put this on blast in front of your face. They put this in the thing, and they're like, this is actually our sense of humor. So, I don't know, maybe consume more art, and that could give you better perspective on things. I'm trying to be straight up constructive here. Go on a trip that changes your life. You've probably made a decent amount of money from this. And maybe you'll come back with like a newfound passion for filmmaking. So, okay, here's some post-movie info. Each episode was accompanied by the sale of 333 NFTs. It gave you access to the episode and also a share of the profits if the rights were secured by a broadcaster or streaming platform in the future, which has not happened. I will stand boldly here and claim that I don't think this will ever happen. Ever. Each token for the episode costs about $4,000, and one of the founders of the show says that they raised around $1 million. There are 240 executive producers for the first episode. Maya says, if she counted right. Apparently, YouTuber Saberspark made a review of episode 1 saying that it was awful. And in episode 2 of Traff, the Red Ape family, they show a character called Cyberfart, as you can see with the laptop, and they locked him up in a tube. To die, I assume. Or to just live there happily. The Red Ape family series was sadly cancelled, or they just stopped doing it after episode 3. Probably due to the fact that nobody liked it and nobody wanted to buy the rights for it. Zero Contact. Produced in 17 different countries, entirely virtually during the 2020 global pandemic, the film follows 5 characters based all over the world, connected only by their devotion to the late founder and tech titan Finley Hart. This is the NFT movie that has Anthony Hopkins in it. They got him. They got him good. I was very confused by this movie, the plot of it, and honestly, more than anything, how'd they get Anthony Hopkins? Very big name, Anthony Hopkins. Very famous. I'm assuming he has like multiple like Oscars, right? Here's the number of Oscars he has. Maybe he has just 1. Maybe even 0, and I look like a f***ing idiot. Maybe he's one of those actors that you're like, 10 actors you didn't know that didn't have an Oscar. Maybe he's one of those. I know that you're also confused by this because you are generally a pretty confused person, and that's not your fault. You have a lot of things confusing you throughout your life, so let me take some of that load off of you. There are some things that don't have to be confusing, like creating a website or managing a business. You're like, build a website? I don't even know what shoe I own. Well, with the help of today's sponsor, Odoo, things can be a little bit easier. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software with lots of different tools for sales, project management, marketing, and a whole lot more. Now you're like, oh my god, thank you, my confusion is starting to go away. And then I hold your hand and I'm like, I look you in the eyes and I'm like, they have a tool that I love. I tell you, Odoo's website builder is super simple and easy to use. And you're like, really? And I'm like, yes, you can use it to make any sort of website you want. You can make a pizza website where you talk about all the daily pizzas that are talked about around the town. There's lots of great templates to customize your website exactly to how you like it. And if you use my link right now, you can build your first website for free, including hosting and support. Your first Odoo app is free for life. You also get a custom domain name for a year for free. So go to my link right here, this one right here, or click on a link in the description to build your website with Odoo. Thank you, Odoo, for sponsoring this video. Going back to Zero Contact, the only way to watch this film when it was released was to purchase it as an NFT. They titled it the first star-powered movie to distribute through NFTs. The first and only movie where we tricked a guy, we tricked an old man to be in an NFT. I don't know if he was tricked. Tricked is funny. I think it was a pretty easy job for him. I'm sure he was cool with doing it, I think. The movie was directed by Rick Douglade. I'm gonna use my laptop here real quick. I hope that's okay with you. Let's watch this trailer.
From the tech world today, is eccentric billionaire Finley Hart has reportedly passed away. Hey, Sam. I know.
Oh yeah, I want you to count how much stock footage do we see being used here?
I always expect.
Here we go. 1.
This world. And those
2. Oh, the video paused. Couldn't handle all the stock footage.
Those things have been kept secret.
Another stock footage. More stock. More. Another one. Another one here.
Prior to his death.
Oh my god, another one. Seattle.
Chose each of you
Tokyo.
to be a part of the deactivation plan.
Oh, here's another one.
You're talking about that.
That's real. That's new footage. That's real footage. Oh, another one. Oh, more stock. Time travel. That's a huge spoiler for the movie, by the way. All right, I'm gonna stop this now. I asked Maya to count how much stock footage is actually used here, because this might be a world record, and I should let them know if that's the case. She said she counted 17 stock video shots in a 2-minute long trailer. All right, I'm gonna go watch the movie now, and then we'll talk about that. All right, I don't know why I said that I'm going to watch the movie. I already have when I said that, so I guess I was just lying. I'm gonna address the fact that I'm in a slightly different location. Here I am in one of Scotland's beautiful pieces of sort of rooftops. I was advised by the person holding the camera to say that the rest of Scotland is very nice. I saw a nice lake yesterday. Here's the nice lake. I think the person behind the camera is gonna shoot me if I don't say this. But then again, I also saw the worst alleyway I've ever seen in my life. Like something that, you know, I think that's where Batman's parents got murdered. I think that's the real crime alley. Whatever. We start off with Anthony Hopkins blazing through a monologue.
Our time on this planet is far more rooted in cause and effect than any of us believe. Many ancient civilizations knew it.
He is like clearly being filmed by like either an assistant or his daughter or his granddaughter at home on an iPhone. He's just going through like a monologue. It's like, oh, the world and I'm in the world and...
But what are the ones and zeros? Just an invention? A means of distinguishing between a single something and multiple somethings?
And sometimes with technology, I don't know what to do. And it really feels like someone sent him, you know, the lines for this via like a text message, and he's just reading it off of his phone. So he does the monologue, and then there's just like an insanely long news montage just giving us so many bits of information. So one of them is the fact that he has apparently created the internet.
Hart Enterprises was at the forefront of technological advances such as microprocessors, personal computers, and the creation of the internet.
These news reporters were rattling off so much information about character names, about Anthony Hopkins. They were like, Anthony Hopkins, he was working on a secret project and blah, 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 blah. And some people thought that it was good and some people thought that it was bad. And like locations and all that stuff that I completely didn't notice. The fact that they said that he died.
Billionaire Finley Hart has reportedly passed away due to complications from kidney failure.
I was like, what the f***? Did they just get him to do that opening monologue bit and that's it? They just paid him like on Cameo, but like, I guess Cameo, but for like A-list people. But no, he's actually like in this quite a bit, like a lot more than I thought he would be. After that, we get a few shots of different people getting spied on through different cameras throughout the house. Kind of like the movie Searching in a way, like just in that aspect, where like everything that we see is like via the cameras that are in the universe and via all the computers that are in the universe and like a phone. This is all footage that I think is gathered by this sort of like sentient spyware thing that's in the movie. You can nod if you think I'm correct, camera. Thank you, camera. The camera is you guys. That's the audience. So whenever the camera nods, that means that you guys agree with everything that I say. Do you think it's cool to kick random people in the street in the head? Do you think that's cool? You are sick bastard. Do you think you should subscribe to me? That's nice. Thank you. Thank you. This restriction is not something that I inherently had a problem with on its own. I think a restriction like that can lead to like quite an interesting movie in a way because it's so connected to like, you know, the visuals that we see on our day-to-day. But it did lead to like a lot of moments of unnatural behavior. I'll get into that a bit later. Okay, so this is a sci-fi movie, and in here I just said to myself, explain the general plot. And my God, have I put myself in a pickle. It's hard to, you know, it's like a tough one. You're just nodding with your head behind the camera. It's early today. Okay, so all of these people, the ones that we saw getting spied on, are gathered here today in this like Zoom call thing. And all of them have various opinions of this guy and they have various connections. And his son is there and he's always like, this man wasn't even a real dad to me.
You don't trust your father, do you?
I don't have a father. Finley's, he's a guy to me.
He wasn't even a real dad. Every time someone calls him dad, I'm like, hey, this guy wasn't a dad to me. I'm like, okay, but we're trying to have a conversation. Like, I'm sure he was a horrible dad. I've gathered, but like, we need to move on because apparently there's this like crazy sci-fi technology that makes you, you know, like teleport into spaces. It's been like decommissioned for being too dangerous, but now it needs to be uncommissioned by this group of people. They need to put in a code, so then the world would end if they don't do that for some reason. Right? Yes? I've probably missed out on something. Listen, it's hard to gather details in this because every conversation is just scientific gibble gabbly duke. It's like nothing. It's like non-stop scientific jargon. Like in this scene.
Finley found a way to capture it in a tachyon field.
A tachyon field?
I'm just sitting there like, oh yeah. The fields of the science are bad. Yeah, I gotta write this down.
Which could in turn shear the electromagnetic shield around the planet, allowing this massive amounts of solar and cosmic radiation to scorch the surface of the Earth.
Really, that's like my main criticism here. With this sort of dialogue, it makes it really hard to like concentrate on anything going on. You know, you have one scene like this in Jurassic Park movie, it's like, that's fine, you know. Even in Mission Impossible, the most recent one, I thought that was a bit heavy-handed at the start, the amount of like conversations that they had that were like that. But you know, movement is happening. This movie relies solely on like a Zoom call. This is a movie that solely relies on us seeing people talking, on dialogue, on conversation. And the movie doesn't work if the dialogue is weak. Because the way that this was filmed, because every person is in a different room, in a different country, in a different place, people have this really off sort of chemistry with one another.
If you like pina coladas.
No, just no.
No, just no. You know, because they have this like big cast of characters, they try to do a little joke perhaps, because they're trying to show that these guys are like, oh, one of them is like rough and rugged, and one of them is a guy that keeps saying, oh, stop calling my dad my dad. But I imagine it would be tough for the actors to try and do this sort of like, we're just bouncing off of each other thing when they have nothing to bounce off of. All right, now's the time for me to say that there's like 5 different scenes of Anthony Hopkins giving a speech. And that's like my second biggest criticism. They just keep popping out of nowhere, right? Do you think that there was like any correlation between what was going on and those monologues? No. There we go. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. That's really nice of you. So, okay, we get this one.
Science is not creative, is it? It's rigid, fact-based. But art, by its very nature, is creativity-based. And what is creativity? Well, oftentimes creativity is about connections and not.
And then barely 10 minutes after that, we get another one of those.
Half-witted moron sitting in the corner of his office, scratching his balls all day long with his thumb stuck up his inside.
And then there's another one.
Golly gosh, I'm sorry, old sport. I had no idea because, you know, my ego is far too big, far too...
And then another one.
They're about to hit the wall.
So yeah, I think this character is insane. My guess is that at some point they were like, oh, we managed to get Anthony Hopkins to be in this. So they just sent him like all these monologue bits that feel like they were written like insanely quickly. Oh, the space and the time, and sometimes that doesn't sound like Anthony Hopkins at all. Oh, the space and the time, and sometimes you get persecuted for the space and the time and the science. And then they were like, okay, we'll figure out after the fact when we have the rest of the movie where to put this. And I wouldn't say that they have figured it out. But if this was in the script from the get-go, crazy. All right, let's talk about the NFT-ness of it all. So this film debuted exclusively as an NFT. It was later picked up for distribution via Lionsgate, and it had a traditional theatrical run. Are you sure about that? It's the researcher filming this. Before eventually landing into streaming, it's free on Prime now. That's how I watched it. So if you want to check it out, that's how you can do it as well. All right, so, you know, they sold a bunch of NFTs for this, and they had this sort of like tiered system. Okay, so the lowest tier of that were the NFT bundles. There were 25,000 of them, and that included the film, a digital poster, which is just a picture. Just a picture of a poster that can be sent to you via a copy and a paste. Each of those was sold at $25. Then more expensive than that, we got the 2,500 exclusive edition NFTs that included the film, signed digital poster. Come on. What's the signature worth if again, it's just copy and pasted. It's just a copy and pasted thing. It's just it's a digital signature. BTS featurette fair, 3 zero-contact character bios. These each sold for $59. Then we have 10 Elite Edition NFTs that came with the film, signed poster in BTS. This one, oh my god, try not to get too excited. An original generative art NFT, the opportunity to be filmed acting as one of the characters in the film, and they'll make a copy with you instead of the actors in it. I imagine this to be just like those like man carrying thing videos. You could overlay one of them, the editor, where he like fakes like doing an interview with a celebrity for a skit. I'm assuming that's what it is. Do they just edit you into the Zoom call? For a chance to be edited into the Zoom call, this one was auctioned to the highest of bidders. Oh, to be so lucky. And then, the top platinum NFT will get you anything you were able to get in the Elite Edition, and, believe this or not, a minted version of the original cut. Meaning it's, and I'm gonna try to not get too hard here, meaning it's on the blockchain. What do you think about that joke?
I like it.
Okay. It's on the blockchain, baby. You get to watch it and knowing it's on the it's the same movie, but you get to know it's on the blockchain and that it's yours. And everyone else gets to know that it's on the blockchain and it's minted and it's yours. Oh my god, the day that you would have. This is not stored. What does any of this mean? This is not stored on a centralized platform which people are given the link to. But I was able to just watch it for free on Amazon Prime, so who's the real winner? Set visit for the planned sequels, a walk-on roll for the planned sequels. Their NFT generative art apparently looked different from the other 10. It was a unique one of one. Oh, to be so lucky. Oh, this one was auctioned to the highest bidder. So wait, I'm wondering, okay. By the researcher, you can nod with the camera still. Was the poster, did they mention the word minted and blockchain and NFT for that? Or is it just a digital poster? No, I did give you options, so it's hard to nod. Is it the second thing I said? Was it just a digital poster? Okay, if it's just a digital poster, if it doesn't even have the buzzwords in it, that's crazy. Here you go. Just let me just copy and paste this poster. Let me just copy and paste this signature. That means nothing. All right, and now I'll interject. This is pretty much what they do on Kickstarter. This is just Kickstarter. You're like, oh, we're creating this like big new thing. You're just doing Kickstarter. Kickstarter, it's just what Kickstarter is. This is not the end. Oh my, hold on to your seats. Hold on to them because you're gonna fly off to the fucking moon when you hear this. This is a genuine reaction still, Maya, because this is so funny. All right. You listening to this? I'm gonna have to get real close. No one else is gonna care about this. If you take the 10 elite NFTs and the platinum NFT and you put them together, they work to unlock, I'm just reading it off their page, a much larger key to the zero contact universe. Oh my god. If you take the 10 NFTs and you connect them to the 10 NFTs, you get an NFT Gundam. You can solve clues to put them all together. What? Okay, so apparently they never explained what the larger key is, what it leads to, or if the owners ever got it. So I don't know if anyone got to, achieve their dreams of unlocking a much larger key to the zero contact universe. I don't know, sadly. I wrote here to myself in the script, I fully have no idea what any of this means. I mean, I do a little bit, but what the f***? In January of 2022, 2 sequels to the movie were announced to be in production shortly after the first film was announced. But we'll see. It's been 3 years. I reckon to make it, at least someone needs to unlock the key to understanding the zero contact universe, because at least the filmmakers need to unlock it. No, I'm sure they do. I don't want to be too mean, but come on, guys. Generally, I'll say about this movie, I think the concept, and the premise works on this on some level, of people being in a Zoom call and a teleporting murderer or something comes in and kills them as they're trying to solve some mystery. I think that's interesting. I really do. I'm sure this took a lot of work, and I don't want to discount that. Things just needed to be simplified on a major level for this movie to work. Either that, or I'm just too dumb. maybe that's the case. All right, why was this an NFT? The film was released in 2021 at the sort of height of like NFT hype. The film revolves around technology and computers, so the filmmakers felt it was fitting. In an interview, the director explains that they were already been playing around in the blockchain, just kicking the dirt in the blockchain, seeing what's gonna be, wondering about the future of Hollywood distribution. And then they founded a company of Wele with other experience in NFTs and blockchain technology, which is what they sold the NFTs on. So they were like kicking around the blockchain, and they were like, let's found a company. Let's found an NFT distribution company. So it doesn't sound that casual, I guess. They wanted to make NFT distributed cinema a thing via their platform. Why did Anthony Hopkins do this? He was held at gunpoint. They put a gun to his head and they were like, read these lines, Hopkins. No, apparently Rick, the director, had worked with Anthony as a producer on the movie Blackway, so that's how it was done. Listen, while a lot of the stuff that we talked about today is kind of dumb, I do think that there is something quite cool and interesting about this idea of a community coming together to sort of collectively own or support this thing. It was advertised as a thing that you are inherently a part of, not just like a funder in this or that way. That said, this sort of method also makes it incredibly easy to sell something that isn't actually worth that amount in a weird way. It becomes a weird stock. And like, do you really want to invest in a weird stock? A few months ago, a few friends and I went to see the movie Hundreds of Beavers in cinema. Amazing, amazing, amazing time. It was so much fun. It was such a fun event. They came in with all the costumes and everything, and I really, really enjoyed myself. And here I was in a room actually getting this sense of community that I'm looking for when it comes to this stuff. Hundreds of Beavers was made for a relatively low budget. I think something like $200,000. Still a good chunk of change, but for a movie, a feature film, definitely not a lot. And it is considered like absolutely a financial success. We were watching it as part of a tour that they were doing 3 years after the fact, and they were still selling out full theaters. So I don't know, that experience was really enjoyable, really stuck with me. I think I kind of want to do the same thing. In a few videos, we're gonna cap off the trilogy of like the movies that I've been doing with Chat over the past like 3 years or so. You know, the ones that like my little brother writes and then we do them and all that. The last one's gonna happen soon. It's gonna be bigger and better than ever. I definitely want to do like maybe like a Blu-ray thing of it or something like that. But I'm also thinking of doing like an actual in-cinema experience. I would love to be there with you guys to watch all 3 of these movies together. I think it will be such a blast. So maybe that's the point of the video today. The point of the video is, let's see if I can logistically figure that out. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. I'm kind of cold right now, so I'm gonna end this video. Please subscribe. Yes. Goodbye. I love you.